Hi guys, we're back and hopping into some shutout time now as we get through the down period. Like I said, MarineLorD and Elazer is scheduled to start, but there's about a 5-minute delay between each best of 3, I was told. So I'm assuming that's just so we can fully run their ads and probably do it the way TvZ does it by the sounds of things. But we had a lot of resubs and even a new sub during that last game and that last series. So I do really want to thank HN Kolov for the 9-month resub. East Lude, Time to Tell for 28 months. We had Magatsu124 new sub, I think shout out earlier, but just covering all our bases. We got Bad Decaf resubbing for 20 long months. Thank you so much for that. Yohasi for the 10. Hodoring just subscribed, brand new as well. I think it was Twitch Prime if I saw chat. Either way, doesn't matter. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Phoenix42 subscribed for 11 months just this second and said almost 1 year, and you are correct, sir. Almost 1 year.
So close. We actually had a ton of well, you know, the alert that comes up and is like, so many people resubbed.
Yeah, because we were offline for so long, I expect that to be like a lot.
Last night it was 97.
Wow.
Yeah, which I mean is cool. Like everyone resubbed, right? Even when we were off. But like, yeah, I wasn't gonna go back and Twitch alerts to read all those.
I don't blame you. That's a crazy awesome amount. I'm glad to see people still support us. You go to Korea, we were really worried about how much we would really lose out on, you know, actually going to Korea. Had some conversations with people at Twitch in Korea actually about that topic. So it was very nice to see we still have that love and support to come home to. Still floating above 1,000 subscribers at 1,047 right now. So thank you guys again for those who do sub and resub every month. It is actually appreciated. It's our livelihood, for goodness sake. But yeah, MarineLorD and Elazer sitting in the lobby for Frozen Temple. I think Elazer's sporting his own WCS portrait. And his clan tag currently is S-Host, which I'm assuming is short for Swarm Hosts. Yes, and his clan tag is New Meta. So, this is kind of what I was discussing before. Swarm Hosts are changed in not drastic ways, but almost drastic ways. One of the big parts of this is they're cheaper. Like, just straight up, they're affordable now. Secondly, the Swarm Hosts, the way the Locust would work before, right? Here's what it would be. The Locust would reach this point and swoop in on the target. Now it's like over here that they can swoop in on the target from further away. So less time in the air and faster time to the ground.
That's so weird. Oh, what? So when I first got in the lobby, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, his clan tag is something else. And then I viewed profile, went back to the lobby, and it fixed it. And I see the same thing.
Maybe he
Korea,
literally changed
please.
it. Oh.
Or maybe it's Korea. I don't know. Korea's different.
There's a pretty good chance it's Korea, if we're going to be honest.
It is, yeah. Like, it's just legitimate that, like, there's so many different things about the clients. Because they literally have to make it that way. Like, it's not as simple as, like, okay, we gotta get the language pack in here. It's also that they have to, like, for Korean laws, consider, like, the whole warning. Like, hey, you've been playing for 2 hours. Why don't you take a break?
Yeah.
Why don't you shut up, computer, and tell me what to do in my life.
Thank you, Zarfield, by the way, for the 22-month resub. Let's talk about some Zerg, though, while we're waiting, while we got some of this downtime. There has not been a lot of severe changes to Zerg, as I mentioned before, but there have been some cool ones. One of the bigger changes, though, actually comes in the early game with Banelings. So, some people I've been watching have the misconception Banelings do not have plus 10 health innately. The plus 10 health comes with Baneling speed. So you don't just make a Baneling and boof, it's got like 10 extra health and they're broken, so Baneling busts are impossible to stop. But once the speed upgrade gets kicked in, then they have that extra 10 health, which I'm really interested to see how that's going to affect people like Bjorn and others. I feel like in some small like A-move situations, Banelings will be far, far better. But for Terran players who are doing like stutter step and like amazing focus fire before, I don't think they should have a big dynamic as far as change goes.
I'm not. I don't know. Because of the recent, I guess, complaints from Protoss when it comes to mass Baneling just rolling over their army, like literally rolling over their army. It sounds really scary, but then again, we watched the original version, which was like the automatic plus 10 health in that like little tournament we did for the balance test, and it didn't look that different because like it was all ZDZs, which of course is a different matchup. But even that, like you have the whole dynamic of Lings trying to snipe the Banelings, and just I don't know, it didn't really seem to be that much of a difference. We'll see what happens. Apparently, Elazer hasn't played too much of it, so maybe he won't even like I don't know. He'll like not go Banelings anyway, even though it's facing a Terran. I guess MarineLorD could go mech. That's fair.
Well, anyways, moving on from the other ones, Hydralisk got a pretty weird change to them as far as muscular augments go. and a lot of it has to do with movement speed for Zerg now, as far as being on creep goes. A lot of people say Hydra is super duper good because of this. I look at this upgrade and it doesn't sound like it would make them super amazing to me, to be honest. But apparently they are really, really good now.
It is so weird because that is something that also, like, you have to get the different upgrades now, but they all combine into the same product that happened a month ago. And it was like a huge change. Like the ability to concave quicker and move on to important units quicker ended up being a huge change. So even though tanks were obliterating the roach fodder left and right, the Hydras were still doing enough. Like it was actually kind of, it was interesting. I don't even want to say that it was like imbalanced one way or another, because the dynamic of like good siege tank positioning and cover versus the good concave from the Zerg has always been the highlight, you know, positioning wise, and it can maybe still occur. I don't know if MarineLorD's gonna try mech.
Let's see what else was changed here. Right, infestors can now cast all their stuff while burrowed. That's kind of neat. Let's see how that goes.
Sucks.
I feel like, so that sounds really bad initially, right? Like, oh my god, how do you stop that? But I feel like the same way Terran players started having to use a lot of scans versus players like TLO and others that were constantly borrowing banlings, I feel like if that comes down to it, push comes to shove, this isn't the worst thing in the world to deal with. It's going to suck for those who are less active, but I don't think it'd be that big of a change for those who are.
Yeah, I guess.
I mentioned Stormhost earlier in the last change, of course. Ultralisks, still pretty beefy, still pretty good, but a little bit more tolerable now. So their base armor was increased from 1 to 2, which is huge. I think that now puts them on par with Corruptors. For whatever reason, I don't know why no one else has that armor value, but Chitinous plating upgrade was removed from 4 down to 2, so an overall gain of like 1 instead of like 3, I think is what it was, or something insane like that. Like, you really, Ultras are still going to be beefy, they're still going to be hard to kill, but they're not going to be impossible like what we saw in the past. Like, when you watch a full 200 bio army not scratch an Ultralisk, you knew something was wrong.
It was... The timer was too harsh, even though you still got good games. Obviously, as people figured it out. I actually like that change probably the most of any other changes. I'd probably like the lack of Tankovacs the least. Like, that's unfortunate, but whatever.
You and I feel like the only people that have been pro Tankovac.
Like, I know, right? There's the whole like Reddit thread where it was like, who else is like happy? And then like, there's a couple people being like, no, actually I thought it was fun. And I was like, yeah, you guys right there. I
really did enjoy it. Like, I will say this, I thought that sometimes the skill of the showcase was really awesome. I could understand entirely though the aspect of like a new player not understanding the concept of dropping your tanks first, and sometimes that could be a little annoying. But I feel like there was a lot of emphasis on what felt like the harass Tankovacs more than the actual like fight Tankovacs. I don't know.
Yeah, I see both sides of the argument. I see what I saw, which was like fun Tankovacs in my opinion, even in TvZ, even playing TvT, which a lot of people are going to throw that in our faces. Like, you guys don't play, so you don't know. But I also see the whole like dynamic of, watching tanks position strategically was also very fun, but that was kind of ruined with the whole medevac boost doom drop era. So that's why I'm all types of concern is what this is going to look like for TvT.
Well, guys, just to explain, we weren't just twiddling our thumbs. It got a little bit awkward because the French casters, the people organizing the tournament, DC'd. So they are finally back, and they said we'll be going in about less than a minute. So, yay!
So I guess we brought this up before we went to Korea, but it was like we got to test the sound issues, right? Because when I'm at home, the Skype starts doing that thing. Right?
Oh, has it been doing it today?
No, that's the point, though. Like, it's perfectly fine.
I'm convinced it's your goddamn Skype.
Well, I mean, that proves it, of course, right? Because you only got it for, like, a couple of weeks, then you didn't even get it again. But it's just so frustrating, because I don't know exactly what it is about it.
Plus, we had to do such a stupid workaround. Like, have four different voiceover programs running, and your cam separate. Whatever. But finally, the game begins! Now, again, I want to stress everybody, it's a group stage, so there is a winner's match, a loser's match, and a grand finals. I don't know the order in which they're playing today, but there are still 3 more best of 3s behind this one. But with a very awkward Korean giggle in the background, let's kick off the game. In the top left side, playing for Millennium, it's going to be the French Terran MarineLorD.
In the bottom right, as the blue Zerg, he is Elazer.
By the way, I gotta give a shout out to. Wait, Elazer changed his clan tag again.
No,
3
right?
ranks.
I'm like, I'm not crazy.
I think it was him just messing around. So yeah, you're not crazy. Nerdchio actually came in the lobby earlier. I forgot about this. I constantly talk about players with personality, and this are my favorite. Nerdchio, for better or for worse, has been one of my favorite personalities, even when he was at his rudest. Today was like a nice refresher course because he joined the lobby of the first series before you joined. He joins the lobby, and I'm presuming off of somebody's real ID, and he says, "Oh wait, there's just scrubs in here. Bye," and leaves right away. Seriously, like that guy, I expected him. I got to meet him at BlizzCon, and I expected him to be like a grumpy, rude, like super antisocial dude, but he was actually really nice. It felt like I was meeting a different person than the player that we've seen online so many times.
Yeah, that's certainly. Oh God, bug. I feel like that's happened more than once for sure. Most people that you meet in real life in esports are pretty chill.
Well,
Most people.
as far as this goes, the question was asked in the lobby by some of the other casters, MarineLorD, do you plan to play Mac? And whether he's joking or serious, he's like, definitely at New Gettysburg, but probably nothing else. MarineLorD is a guy who has had weird success and weird faults throughout 2016, right? Like, he had some drama that really set him back for WCS, and that was unfortunate because I feel like he is one of the better foreign Terrans that would have had a chance to showcase something awesome. At least better than some of the results we saw. I'm really not naming names, just saying generally he is a better player. And I'm hoping with this new patch, we're not going to see him be one of those players that falls behind and gets stuck on the old metas and doesn't adapt and doesn't try new things. Like, if mech really is the way to go, I know that MarineLorD is a player capable of it. Goodness knows that we've seen him in pretty much every good Terran player try it in TvT at some point in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
But I have no clue where that sits versus Zerg right now.
I'm pretty sure we saw MarineLorD try it versus Zerg 2 for like once or twice, basically. And it felt a lot because he knew he was at a WCS, so he was just kind of having fun and experimenting, which is totally not wrong thing to do, because even if Mech doesn't end up being the most OP strategy or even like more valid than Bio, maybe it's only equally as valid, then it's just good to have that type of dynamic change up when you play in a best of series. So I imagine he'll learn to play it eventually, if it does work out that way. But of course, the Elazer went for the pool first because it's still Frozen Temple, and the Reapers weren't changed. Like, everyone complains about the tank evacs, which I feel was such it was like once in a blue moon you get that red that was like
Reapers
siege
were
tanks
worse
suck,
than
right?
tanks, like without a doubt.
But yeah, but like no one did enough complaining about the Reaper apparently. Like, they only mentioned it in the comments. No one made enough threads about it because the Reaper, well, it's fun to watch, and I don't mind the 3-Rax Reaper against Zerg that much. I do mind how much it sucks in TvP.
I really don't have a good real-life analogy for this, but the Reaper was just so garbage for so long, so everyone's just kind of like, you know what?
That's true.
This guy's been through a lot, right? Like, his people have suffered 4 years of bullshit, so we'll just let him have his thing in the early game, you know?
His
Like,
mentally unstable convict people.
exactly.
We need to give them a buff.
Like you said, I don't have a good real-life analogy for this one.
Yeah, right. It's just like, the thing is, like, it's the same purpose they had in Wings of Liberty at the very beginning, which is just like, you know, like early rushes and that's it. And I don't see a necessity to change that they're only an early game unit, but whatever, it's neither here or there. Actually, some guy suggested giving them an upgrade that allows them to put down spider mines, but only 3, like a vulture would, and I was like, that's not a terrible idea, because that would help with run buys.
Oh,
but
no unit in the game could have free anything scenario. Free units would
not
be
Terran.
just insane.
Not Terran, am I right?
They'd have to have timed life if it was Terran, clearly.
Yeah.
Actually, auto turrets got changed pretty big. We'll talk about that later, because we do have 2 factories with 2 reactors on the other side of the map, so a lot of potential Cyclones and Hellions on the way. The mobile way of playing this I really like. Cyclones and Hellions have actually been really good, even in the old version of the game. We got to see a little bit of attempts at it during Shoutcraft, and of course through some of the debuts of the patch, but I'm still not convinced Cyclones are that amazing. I know that everybody says they are, and I've seen a couple of good ladder games from people streaming like Canius or Winter or whoever, but I really haven't actually seen Cyclones be such a good unit that I'm like, oh my god, yes, oh my god, the new Cyclone is amazing. Oh, like, that hasn't happened.
Jesus. Okay, calm down there, buddy.
I don't need to calm down, because my point is it never happened.
Okay. I agree. I don't think Cyclones have ever been that great. Like, these pushes, I think only work against someone who's never seen them before. which at this point everyone's seen Hellion Cyclone pushes, and not from this patch, but literally from like the past 7 months or something, because you would have those interesting mech players try something like this. Like Innovation has been doing this the last month, right? But it still is scary. Like, it still can snowball if you don't react well and keep the numbers low, which is the problem right now, is that MarineLorD is starting to get quite a few Cyclones and Hellions.
I actually really like the idea of that Reaper Grenade in this, too. As we can see, though, Roaches attack really hard and slow. Cyclones attack really, really fast. It's an interesting dynamic where hit and run favors Elazer so much more.
I just think that, he has a pretty perfect solution to this, which is to get, the same way that they have both units available, you get both units, Lings and Roaches available, and hopefully also get some, like, counterattacks and run-bys like this. Elazer's basically playing it pretty damn well.
So whatever for the Cyclones for the moment, what is worth noting, though, and we have seen this before, Hellions might not do bonus damage versus armored, but if there's enough splash damage going out, it might as well be bonus damage, and that's a lot of Hellions. Like, these Roaches are actually going to get baked. And not in a good 420 blaze away. And of course, with Blue Flame on the way, it's not going to take much from MarineLorD. If he slips by any of these Roaches to get to that mineral line, even just briefly, drones will die.
Oh,
man, the new lock-on sucks. Those three Cyclones.
It took a long time. Yeah.
Blizzard, please, what are you thinking?
Roaches might start fading away here as MarineLorD keeps a good count of units, as they should, right? They're, pretty basic tier units. But the Hydralisks, this is where things get interesting. The Hydra versus mech game, and it is going to obviously be mech, and it's going to be turning into siege tank mech.
So that's where combination of the siege tanks, but also the Blue Flame Hellions become very important. Blue Flame Hellions are going to be that glass cannon effect that are going to be really nice to fry up Hydras if given the opportunity. But at the end of the day, tanks are going to be king. They've got so much damage. They got so much range.
Evolve Groove Spines is different.
Attack range +2, man. It's no longer small, and I guess requires a new animation for it. I don't know what to tell you.
Cool.
But as the attack commences, the tanks don't quite cover this, so it's going to be up to the Cyclones to buy some time. Of course, if this Roach just comes in range of the tank, it is going to blow them away. Seriously, 70 damage, guys, is a lot of freaking damage.
Well, I mean, there's going to be sacrifice now, but I'm not sure he's too worried about it. There still is a dynamic where you have to cover your Hydras, because they don't have a lot of health, but Roaches are hopefully easily replaced.
That was a really nice choice of focus fire out of Elazer too. By the way, you picked up like 3 of the low health Hellions instead of just auto attacking, so got quite a bit for it. Well, yeah. So last time as well, or not last time, excuse me. Early on in this game is what I meant to say. We saw Burrow come down, and I wasn't sure if this was just to hide the drones from the Hellions or break a lock-on potential or what that was supposed to be, because lock-on doesn't hit ground anymore. But this is going to complement the actual Burrow a little bit better. And that's a good way to get underneath those tanks.
Yeah. I mean, you could actually go pure Roaches, and if you got underneath the tanks and right on top of them, they'd still be pretty effective. But, still adding on those Hydras is, I think, the better way to go. It's just going to be a really good anti-mech army. It's going to be, of course, about MarineLorD getting to that almost maxed out state and pushing forward and getting a good position, which I think BC Cutie honestly kind of failed on by going to the south and pressuring the fourth as he did. Not a lot of tanks, and they did get concaved upon because the rocks were broken down. That was more to Drogo's credit, but the point is, MarineLorD has probably... he's probably thought of his attack plan, but he just knows he has a turtle for now, especially as Elazer gets close to max out.
The tanks are spread out, which is great, because Blinding Clouds can wreck tanks still, so can Ducks, but...
That's true.
It's a little bit early for that, so the tanks aren't all getting the shots up. Now that they do, though, the Roaches absolutely melt, and the Hydra's going to follow suit afterwards. Now, Elazer tried to use this as a distraction to head north. It did, I guess, not do much. There's nothing here to pick off. The command center is still building over here.
I was like, usually I suppose that would have been the solution, but even then, you're not supposed to give away. If you're just doing Roaches on Roaches on Roaches, then that's something that, of course, we've seen Zergs do all the flipping time. But he had Hydras in there too, which is why it was so weird. And he also attacked in before they had that speed, so that's what really makes them so scary. And in larger numbers, of course, as well. He attacked in with half of an army that wasn't that big in the first place because he's at 85 drones.
So I love that these put the Hellbats inside the medevacs. If they can get on top of the Hydras, they're going to melt them. It's a big if on that regard. Roaches actually catch them off guard back on the home front, but what's really important behind this are those Vipers. Again, BC is going to be clumped up while traveling. It's going to be hard to split at the last moment and siege the tanks up individually. Blinding Cloud, I think, is going to be absolutely devastating for Terran players to deal with right now. That being said, Abducts and Blinding Clouds aside, this army out of Elazer is still not that scary. There's not that many Roaches. There's not that many Hydras.
Yeah, I mean, his army supply is not bad, and his upgrades aren't bad, but it is a scary position right now, as MarineLorD has a pretty fast rally. He's moving in a slow pace and making sure to spread those tanks. And that is, you know, Vipers existed in Heart of the Swarm, too. And Heart of the Swarm had a good era of mech. And that's just, you know, you snipe the Vipers, you spread out the tanks, and you can still do mech against them.
Man.
It's still a good unit.
Tanks are pretty freaking good, I gotta say.
Yeah, they are. Like, they seriously, Roaches are literally only cover for the Hydras now. Like, before, it was okay, they get a couple of shots, you know, like, they can be still pretty good. No, like, they get obliterated.
So, the leapfrog effect is here. We got the Vikings looking to dive forward and focus fire down some of these. Okay, 3 tanks go down. Not bad. There's still so many more behind this. And they're spread out so well that Blinding Cloud's not going to be an issue. Meanwhile, Medevacs tried to fly by, I guess, and get some Blue Flame Hellbat drops. Not quite going to happen. Awkward tank in the middle of the map is awkward. Oh, no scam for these Roaches.
But I don't think it's enough, though. Like,
Well,
the spread is so good.
Look at this. How bad's friendly fire going to be? I love this. The spread from the Roaches could actually kill the tanks.
Yeah, that's a pretty good split of a laser, too.
Blinding Clouds go down the front tanks. Looks like he will clean up the Roaches. But he's going to lose the front line for it. But the Vipers all go down to the Vikings, so he pulls back to his tank line. Blinding Cloud's starting to wear off. Looks like BC's still going to fall here, maybe? There's reinforcements coming in now.
I love that it's so much closer than I felt that before mech was. It was really like, oh my god, the Blinding Clouds are way too good. I guess it's game over. MarineLorD's rally is going to make this in like an okay trade. The Roaches all go down. The Hydras should follow, even though they are much better now. They still are, you know, those light cannon units. And it ended up still going worse for MarineLorD.
But like barely.
But I like that they make better.
The production for the lasers really won this particular battle out for him. But that fight was so much better than we've ever seen in the past. I actually really like the dynamic of the new changes.
Yeah, it was more interesting. It lasted a lot longer, and it just, you know, obviously it was still went much in favor of Elazer, and he's banking so much that he'll probably win this game with better upgrades on the way, as well as a greater spire. But I do think that is, again, one of those things where, like, maybe MarineLorD's in a bit more of a choke. That goes a lot better.
I really liked Elazer's choice there with the burrow, though. The way he had unburrowed and, like, on top of, like, 2 Roaches on every tank instead of just, like, trying to focus fire down 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because that is a really big question. Like, honestly, the new siege tanks, they do so much more damage. How much bad is the friendly fire?
Yeah, and also, like, defensively, I guess MarineLorD has a better shot, too. Like, I think being down 60 supply is too much to recover, especially when the tech is also surpassing MarineLorD.
Yeah.
But maybe it is the case where, like, 2 tanks now covering a planetary stops a, 60 army supply advantage.
Well, the other part of this, too, is we do have a laser moving on to things like Corruptors and Broodlords, so while the fights may be predictable on the ground, it'll be less predictable once Broodlords step into it. That friendly fire from the tanks, for example, becomes another big aspect of the game. However, Vikings, not too bad. He's had a lot of them throughout the course of the game. Thors are great. Broodlords have their range cut by 1, so Thors can get even closer, even easier.
Yeah. Yelling at each other playing like Overwatch. It's not playing League of Legends anymore. Anyway, I mean, the upgrades are now pretty good for Elazer, and just really the dynamic of Hydras being able to spread like they do makes it so much harder to defend against them. So I actually like that Elazer went a lot more into Hydras this time. He's pulled like 20 plus Hydras.
Blinding Cloud's going to go on top of the tank and the planetary fortress. The Vikings can't go forward because of that Hydra range. Siege tanks are a little out of position too. They come in a little bit late to the party, and that planetary is not getting repaired. The SCVs get on it now. No building armor, though, means it's going to go down. Hydras have no problem. Blinding Clouds cover the entire army of MarineLorD, and Elazer is just going to walk over. GG.
GG.
Also, I would like to know, I have called with BC like 5 times, guys. Chat, thank you for calling me out on it. That's my bad. I'm not even going to pretend like there's any good reason for it. My bad.
I didn't notice. Did I do it too?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I didn't notice until chat said something. Then as soon as they did, I was like, "Huh, I have been saying Beastie. Why have I been saying Beastie? It's clearly MarineLorD." So, mental nut to try and do better, guys. My bad. We're gonna pop off to a small commercial break though while Game 2 gets set up. So don't go in here. We'll see you soon. Alright, guys, we're back. Thanks for watching that break. We knew it would take a few moments to get that game going, but we're finally in the lobby and we're almost all set to go for Frost. Thank you, DC Monster 821, and let's see, we did miss some other people, so gotta get caught up in our shoutouts. Yeah, like that guy said. All right, I don't know where we left off last time, so some people are gonna get double shoutouts here. Thank you to Zarfield for the 22-month resub, Cheshire Cat for the 9 months, Ufen Truffender, 29 months of me not being able to sneeze out that name, Nathuris for the 17 months, Eric Mai for 26 months, and as just said, DC Monster 821 for 10 months. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel and dealing with my inability to pronounce your names or say the correct player names. Love you all nonetheless. Spawning in the top right side of Frost, he's going to be the red Terran player down 1 game this series. It's MarineLorD.
In the top left, as the blue Zerg, he is Elazer.
Has gone from 3 racks in OP to Swarm Host now.
He's just swapping between. Maybe he was doing it per the map. He's expected 3 racks to lose on Frozen Temple, and now he's going to go Swarm Host on Frost.
Just a little adapt per map. That would actually, that kind of reminds me of we talked about like players should change their little portrait things to like be their faces. If they win a game, it's like smiling. If they lose a game, it's like sad and crying.
I remember we talked about that. That would be interesting.
It's kind of what Elazer's
Give him like a
doing.
bundle. Kind of.
Well, anyways, as we've seen now in both TVP and an example of 1 game into TvZ, Mech is not looking to perform so great right now. I'm hearing a lot of mixed results from, of course, watching the last day and a half, watching streamers play, and they're really... the dynamic here is tough, because Mech is still... Mech itself is not new, but the new type of Mech that's available now in patch 3.8 is new and very different, and I think it is going to take some time adjusting to, so I'm still... Until we're about a month into this patch, I'm not willing to say this is bad. Obviously, some things I think need tweaks, like Cyclones just seem like kind of garbage units, if I'm going to be honest. Everyone at BlizzCon during those show matches at Shoutcraft, by the way, was telling me I'm an idiot. Like, oh, Cyclones are the best. And maybe that's true, but I've yet to touch them myself, so I'm not going to pretend like I've got first-hand experience here. But from everything I've seen, combination streams, combination Shoutcraft show matches, like, it's just not that great of a unit anymore, it feels.
Right? Like, people were telling me that it was the best thing in the world, and I was just like, not that I played that, like, that much to the balance mod. Like, I didn't think it was that impressive, so... I'm with you on this one, especially as we see it in action, I guess, today with the actual patch being released, but whatever, we'll see. The thing about Mech, though, and like any new strategy, is that it's not even about the first month, right? Because Colossus, technically, for the first month, Legacy of the Void sucked. If we're trying to go for them. But then 7 months later, and they're actually pretty good in response to certain compositions, so I have hopes that someone will become the MVP. Like... the guy MVP of Legacy of the Void and make Mech totally viable thing to do.
I would put my money on Gumiho at this point. The guy was brave enough to go versus Sue at the Elite League Finals. I mean,
right? I mean, he almost made Ghosts versus Investor Broodlord a thing, and you got to give him credit for that. Everyone's like, that's the easy solution. Why doesn't anyone do it? Gumiho's like, you know what? I'll try it, and it kind of worked.
By the way, I'm having a fun time like getting back in the normal casting train, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm already sad missing live casting. The Elite League Finals and the VSL Finals were such a good time, man. There's just something about live casting. I feel like even when we were doing it in Toronto when there wasn't an audience, it was just like a lot more fun.
I agree. It's just like, it's also like a lot more, just like it gives you so much more energy to live cast. I do wish people would just all agree that standing desks are 100% better. But I guess the Koreans are so behind in that aspect.
I think in terms of production, it's going to be tougher to set that up.
Really? Because it's like it's 2 less chairs and a higher desk.
Maybe.
Easy.
I think. Well, the standard hasn't been to stand though. Like the reform required for this. It sounds silly to say. It's kind of a big deal, I think.
I would say the standard in the Western world is. It's just Korea isn't. When's the last time you saw someone sitting?
Like every big event ever.
Oh, IEM, WCS, are they all standing?
No, WCS, they're absolutely sitting. I mean, every game in WCS, the cast, Overwatch, Heroes, like, Gilly wasn't standing on a standing desk, that's for certain.
Heroes, they weren't, you're right. But I could have, you know, the casters were definitely standing for
Not
WCS
for StarCraft. No way. I was taking pictures of Tasteless and Artosis'
I was taking a video.
Them.
Yeah,
so maybe you caught them the moment they were standing. I'm not going to argue that nobody ever stands, but like I think the standard is to sit. Now, not really important right now. We got the fight over here getting cleaned up. Ling's getting a little bit scary on this base. That hatchery almost goes down, but Elazer the quick cancel manages to save it. And MarineLorD kind of ends up wasting all that time, all for naught. Hellings get blown up, Lings die, 3 SCVs dead. Ultimately, not a crazy early game trade, but got really hectic really quick.
Yeah. Well, the Banshee opener, I mean, I just don't know why Banshees are like an opener anymore, to be honest, like at all. Because I feel like I haven't seen them do any damage in a long time.
So I'm on board for agreeing with that. But for me, what I'm excited about is the potential Banshees have now opposed to what they had in the past, right? With a Hyperflight Rotor upgrade a lot more accessible, we've seen in the past when players actually got to use Hyperflight Rotor Banshees, how much it just tore a Zerg player apart, right? I'm surprised that's not the emphasis here, but if it is, I would love this to be a more common thing. But otherwise, I agree. Like, on their own, just that one cloaked Banshee, it's a garbage waste of gas, frankly.
There's like literally one guy that like sat like to my left, and he's the one that's like complaining. I'm almost like gonna tell him like move.
Oh, in Overwatch? Or is he complaining about you?
Oh, in Overwatch, he's the one that's actually like moaning and groaning about whatever's happening in the game. Like, I assume he's playing with the guys over there because they're all like kind of doing the same thing at the same time, but you can't hear the other guys. Whatever.
Alright, well, the Banshee gets cloak off. Spore Claw is already on, though, so kind of limited on what it can do. Hellion's on the front side being pushed off by Queens. And we got the double armories dropping behind it. So another Banshee comes out. I really want this to be Hyperflight Rotors. I mean, on one hand, the Hyperflight Rotor only increases the speed, right? So it's not going to let you get around a Spore Crawler any better or Queens or anything like that. But you can start controlling everything where there's not static defense. So crazy hard. And one of the worst aspects of it, and the reason I bring up the static defense part, is Overseers, even with speed, can't keep up with cloaked Banshees. They actually cannot, like, speed keep up with them. So your detection becomes somewhat moot.
The moo point. Got it.
A moot point. Hashtag Sombra.
Anyway, so it's really weird that you're going to see Banelings. I mean, they got the they got that buff, am I right? But I still don't think they work that well against mech. Laser trolling a little bit. I don't know.
Maybe experimenting as well. I mean, we've talked with other players about this too, right? Like, it's not that you try something crazy YOLO new, but tournament settings are the best to get the best practice for different strategies. Like, if you're not used to using Banelings versus mech, but you want to see if it works, do it against one of the best players who's playing for money, MarineLorD and Top Dogs.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so like Banelings have actually been used against mech before, so like no one bothered bringing up examples. Like it had. It's so hard to make it work. Like, you really have to overwhelm someone who's too aggressive as a mech player, and I don't think that MarineLorD's going to be, like, hyper-aggressive with his tanks. Like, I mean, like, literally, they move forward, like, 2 tanks, and you're like, what are you doing?
Tanks are going to deal... They're not going to deal bonus damage versus Banelings. And Banelings actually got extra health, so in effect, like, better than ever versus mech, technically?
Technically, yes, that is true. I am interested in the Swarm host, or potential Swarm hosts. I meant to say Infestors, then Swarm has got in my brain, but the Infestors...
Is it Infestors that get in your brain?
The Infestors could, like... I mean, the fungal combination on a moving mech army followed up by the Baneling run-in, that is still devastating. It's when the tanks are siege that you're just like, what are you doing with Banelings? Like, especially, what are you doing with Banelings? But I don't know if it's going to be for Swarm hosts or for Infestors.
Well, he's trying to get the run by. Some nice shots going to go off, but they are going to get cleaned up. Big thank you to Vampire Ivan. Vampires. Thank you for the Twitch Prime sub.
Oh, it's from Hive, so neither. Damn it. Okay, so,
These Banshees got a lot more than I thought they would, by the way.
Yeah, Elazer does a great job responding to this, but MarineLorD, I mean, he must have realized what the composition is. He might be anticipating roaches anyway. He might be like, okay, well, there's nothing now, but I guess there's a roach warren somewhere. But if not, then I think if he can get to 150 supply, he should absolutely move out right then and there, and just make sure to like leapfrog tanks against like a wall basically. And I think he would do pretty well, especially now that he's gonna have blue flame.
Oh man, trying to escape, barely gets out of there. Speaking of Blue Flame, he's transformed them back. I was actually curious to see whether he'd plan to use Hellbats this time or not. One of the things is, like, especially against Links and Banelings, you're going to want units that clean up them quickly. Hellions have got some nice line of fire, but honestly, Hellbats will be able to soak the hits a lot better as well with their splash. So I think Blue Flame Hellbats might be a little bit better against this particular setup. Again, maybe tanks spread out are going to be just fine. We don't actually know. We're gonna see this dynamic come in, and might be really good, might be really bad. Banelings have 40 health.
Tanks absolutely would be fine spread out and sieged up. Like, I don't think it's a question even with the additional health for banelings, but it is a question of like, are they siege up and spread out, or are they moving across the middle of the map?
It's
Also,
not,
like,
it's
Lane
not about
Baneling does really well when it's in mass numbers, but he's only keeping at an even supply with MarineLorD.
we just missed it. There's a carpet bomb of banelings going through the natural base too. By the way,
Oh,
that one got
jeez.
some kills. 17 STVs. Yikes. Now that being said, the comment I was going to make though was, as far as the spread out tanks go, I just meant as far as Lings running in, it's going to be a lot harder to get those scatter shots off and then focus fire down the banelings. But I don't know. We'll see whether that's an important detail or not, because the Vipers are going to be a scary aspect to this again, and we are kind of in that attack in that area. Not really seeing that many out yet though. Queens also have a lot of transfusions, can soak a lot of damage. Tank's going to obliterate this hatchery though if they get the shots on it. That spine crawler evaporated. Oh my god.
Well, Elazer tries to kind of counterattack here, but he's already lost a significant amount of units, so it doesn't really get much damage done. He's kind of just rolling with the last 17 SCVs killed, which didn't put MarineLorD that low on SCVs.
But Lings finally get that defense. The rally not quite going to be enough to stop. Never mind, take that back. The siege tank will blow them away. Looks like the medevacs can go down the main, so these won't get too much more. Getting the base was a nice pickoff for MarineLorD, but down here, Elazer already has another base set up.
Yeah. I guess now that he's been able to get to Ultras and Broodlords, we can stop talking about the fact that it's been Ling Baneling. I still am, like, quite worried, though, that this mech army... Okay, so it's going to do well against Ling Baneling. I think that's pretty much confirmed, because there's enough tanks now. But it also does really well against Ultras, too. So, like, this stepping stone to Broodlords is not that secure of a foothold, you know, for Elazer.
Yeah,
I'm actually quite worried to watch these Ultras run in.
Yeah, they sound like a really bad idea. I mean, tanks...
Yeah.
Seriously, 70 damage a shot. No, these have upgrades. 80 damage a shot. The armor mitigation is 4. So, I mean, Ultras have 500 health. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of health. These are a lot of tanks, though, with a lot of potential damage. You're going to be shooting those Lings, though, so not getting the shots off on the Ultras. Baneling's rolling. That kind of surround. The one Ultra flank ended up being pretty nice.
Yeah, and the Lings did, you know, take up enough shots to be helpful. But as you can see, the reinforcements of simply like 3 tanks, a single Thor actually helps out too. Vikings, sure, why not land? You're not helping that much. There's more Vipers to kill. And, you know, when the Ultras are down, the Queens will follow.
But it's so weird watching these Ultras fall. I mean, again, they've got some pretty nice armor on them. Kind of disappointing complete up to 6 now, but the tanks fared so much better here than they've ever done in the past, but still ended up dying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about the last time we saw Frost tanks versus Ultras, that was a couple months ago, and they just absolutely got wrecked with like the slightest bit of surround. So that did go better. But it also was, you know, of course, that MarineLorD wasn't maxed out. He was rallying forward like small amounts of tanks, and his Hellbats all died too. So that's one thing the Banelings are definitely good for. I don't know about using them only for early mid-game defenses. I still think like a Roachborn would be the safer way to play. Ooh. But if you do get enough Banelings and you get rid of the Hellbat fodder, then that is very useful.
Well, a very nice run by down here to the south picks off all the drones. 18 go down. Blue Flame still have plenty left over to deal with the Lings. The Lings should clean this up with the Ultra, but some value out of these Hellions to say the least.
Yeah. Return of damage with a Baneling drop for sure. Brings the Elazer down to 59 drones, which isn't bad, but of course he's wanting more bank than what he has right now, which is actually 0 bank. He's banking gas, but he can't get any minerals.
So Thor was at 5 health, by the way, when it landed.
Nice. So, I don't know if Elazer can get a good enough army again. Like, he took out the Hellbats with the Banelings, and then the Lings helped the Ultras enough to take out the tanks, and that was a pretty perfect dynamic, but I don't know if he can get it again.
What was really interesting to me about that dynamic of a fight, and you're right, I agree, but that last fight that went down, it wasn't like there's 15 Ultras coming in. In fact, a lot of it had to do with the 2 Ultras that were just getting transfused forever.
Stormhosts. What?
Well, no, so this goes back to the point, Stormhosts are effective now. Or cost effective,
yeah,
I should say now.
Why them over the Broodlords that are available right now? He has a greater spire.
It might be fear of lack of air control. I mean, he's gonna know there's gonna be Vikings. He's had to deal with them already.
Yeah.
Potential of Liberators? Question mark. I don't know. But Swarm Hosts are really interesting. Again, really emphasizing the changes on these guys. They're cheaper, like seriously, way cheaper. In fact, I'm gonna tab out and look up the exact cost because they really, yeah. Went from 150 minerals and 100 gas down to 100 minerals and 75 gas.
Yeah. It can kind of be mass produced, but I don't know if they're quite an answer, especially as like an emergency unit, the type that you just got to get quick because you know the push is coming.
I'll put a question mark on that because I really don't know either, but I'm excited to see.
Yeah, right? Like, this might be
Potentially
the
shotgun
perfect
out of the
answer.
sky.
It might do the same thing the Lings are trying to do, which is that, you know, take up shots of the tanks so the Ultras actually get on top of them.
Yeah, they still have like the 40-second cooldown though, so while this is kind of scary to see this many swarm hosts and locusts in the middle of the map, walking away is probably the best solution here for MarineLorD.
Literally just walks. I mean, he sees them running out of life. I mean, he'd probably go back in, but he's taking a different approach to it. I mean, he's going to be able to deny a base again, which is totally worth it. He's going to be able to deny that base plus just leave again, too. So, yeah, reposition. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, Elazer has been trying to expand to the south while this has been going on, but it's been proving to be difficult for him. Getting run-bys and other things picking off the drones. This base still under attack. A couple of swarm hosts going to throw out their locusts. We'll see if these actually engage on anything much, but looks like with the blue flame in the tanks, these locusts aren't going to do much anyways. Landing only to die immediately.
Okay, so that kind of answers our question. More sample size is needed, I suppose, but...
Well, there's still more coming.
Okay.
You know, the other part of this too that makes it an interesting choice over MarineLords, like, okay, Locusts have got some range to them, sure, but they don't have upgrades, right? Like, Elazer didn't go for a bunch of range upgrades this game. He went for a lot of melee upgrades this game.
Yeah, he made a lot to those early on. And MarineLorD at +3 too, though, was like pretty awesome upgrades. I didn't even realize he got so high up. But this kind of is looking like game, even though Elazer still has an army to work with. I just don't see the benefit in his army, especially in these positions. Like, the ledges are going to be so abusive versus the Ultras.
This was a really weird game to watch, though, because I feel like Elazer was just throwing shit out there, so to speak. Like, he wasn't actually playing as as concentrated as I felt like he was in Game 1, if that makes more sense. Like, not to say MarineLorD played this badly and he doesn't deserve this, but Elazer really did make quite a few throw moves, and odd composition choices like those Banelings really didn't help.
It looked like he was experimenting for sure. Like, again, the Ling Baneling is a... I don't think it's a very solid defense, but it worked out the way that he, I guess, wanted to, which is like the ultimate goal was to get to Hive. But Hive didn't work out the way he wanted to, I think.
Yeah, that's what Ellie, by the way, has had nothing cleaning it up, so it has slowly been chipping away at 14 drones now. Pretty nice, considering Elazer's down to 44 for this late in the game.
Yeah.
He's making more swarm hosts, so I mean, he's content in trying to make these work. I see the potential for them. Because once we did see all the locusts actually down on the ground and concentrated together, MarineLorD had to back away. But, that being said, he backed away. Like, he got away. It wasn't a problem.
Yeah, that is the problem. I mean, like, I could foresee something like a Swarm Host Locust come in, and then the Siege tanks on Siege, and then Lings and Ultras run in, and that's your perfect scenario.
Well,
but I think the numbers are too good. Like, yeah, on Siege, they're still taking care of the Ultras.
Just run away best you can. This again reminds me, like, every unit introduced into Heart of the Swarm, you just walk away from. This is another example of that. Locusts land a jump, but they're almost out of life anyway, so a couple tanks go down, but nothing too bad.
9 more Swarm... It's Swarm Host Corruptor at this point.
Well, so the Swarm Host free units, it makes a little bit of sense with the Elazer being forced to play cost effective, but again, for me, the free unit should be the MarineLords. Maybe question mark. One Ultra gonna run rampant down here at the south side, drive off the base from mining.
Okay, not bad. Of course, MarineLorD on 4 bases still has time to rebuild SCVs. It's not too devastating.
Oh no!
This could be very bad. Oh, those are all kind of stacked up. Elazer goes down to sub 40 drones.
As someone who's played mech a while, GG first off. I will say it's those blue flame Hellions that end up winning you the game a lot of the time without anyone realizing it. Just because Zerg will be throwing everything away at you until they finally realize, oh, I've got no mining. You've been picking off my drones this whole time. Blue flame, too good.
Yeah, Zergs are pretty accustomed, and that's partially because of Heart of the Swarm, but also like just having enough drones to being able to remax. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, I can't.
Well, guys, we're going to try and take advantage of the downtime. Real quick, 2 minutes. See you soon for game number 3. Alright guys, we're back. Thanks for watching that break. To explain a little bit, by the way, we are very intentionally going to be doing a little bit heavier ads. And I know we already do a ton of ads on the channel, but for example, like, nobody was waiting for us. This game was going to take 2 minutes. And we could have done a little bit more post-game discussion, but for a very temporary period of time between now and the end of the year, Twitch is giving 50% additional ad revenue, and we really want to see what we can push for that. So for those that do watch the commercials, you sincerely have our gratitude, and for this month and the next month, it's going to mean more than ever. 50% bonus is huge, by the way. Like, in a hypothetical world, like, let's say we make $1,000 from ads during the month of December. We would get like a $500 bonus. Like, that's crazy.
It's pretty neato burrito. Oh, burrito sounds great.
Hmm.
There's actually a Taco Bell near me.
What?
Right? Like, apparently... So what's funny about where I live, I guess, is it... Okay, so it's north of the Han River, which means it's kind of old, I guess. And also, it's starting to appeal more to foreigners, because it's, like, one of the most popular districts to visit, or right near it, anyway. So, like, yeah, stuff like Taco Bell comes here, where you don't see Taco Bell that much at all anywhere else.
Well, I
can go grab a burrito. 5 in the morning.
I have some comments on that, but I'll save them for a moment. Let's get these intros out of the way. Game number 3. Things are tied up 1-1. In the bottom right side, we got the red Terran player, MarineLorD, a.k.a. the Mech Beast.
In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, he is a Elazer.
The 10 IQ pleb.
Wow, rude.
Apparently.
So, I actually was gonna... So I had to... If you guys don't know, right, it's like... What time is it, actually? It's 4:30 in the morning in Korea. And I got up at, like 1 to go and walk to the PC bong. And I've been out at, like, 1 in the morning in, like, a lot of different cities in America. And they're all pretty much the same, even if it's, like a really big city, like New York. Or, well, in New York, you just feel, like, really scared. But anyways, like, there were still, like, food stalls open at, like, 1, 2 in the morning. I want to actually take a video, like, just to show you my commute, quote-unquote, to see, like, how totally common it is to be out and about for hours into the night.
Well, so that's what I found really interesting about Korea for me. Okay, so first off, there's American food stores, which is great, and I got to try and test, like, McDonald's, see if it tasted the same as McDonald's back home, all that sort of thing. By the way, fuck Burger King, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, Korea is open late, I guess is the best way to describe it. There's a lot more 24-hour places than I've ever seen anywhere back at home. There's food stalls that are open to like 4:30. Like, people aren't waking up in the morning, they're staying out late. It was crazy and cool. Like, Korea was very, very nightlife in Busan and in Seoul, which were the 2 places I was at.
Yeah, even more so in Seoul for sure. But it was like, I knew that shops were gonna be open, like the CVS's and the 7-Elevens. But the fact that we had like bakeries open, I actually did not expect. So that's kind of cool. I was actually on the stream yesterday when I was casting solo that anytime they talk about food, you know how they do that to us, and we're like, guys, I'm talking about food, I'm so hungry. Like, I'm gonna order a pizza. I could literally just be like, give me a second, guys. I'm gonna grab by with, go back with a pizza.
Yeah, it was so cool too, because like, you would just walk down the street, like 5 minutes any direction, you would find something you wanted. Like, didn't matter what you're looking for, you would find it in 5 minutes in Korea.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of times it's like, oh, cool, here's like a food stand, here's like a grocery store, here's no problem.
Now, if you look for someplace specific, it might take an hour and a half, but it's a whole other can of worms. Am I right?
Looking for a can of worms? 5 minutes that way.
Yeah.
Alright, so this is a little problematic as the SCV does go down. MarineLorD's Reaper was across the map, and unfortunately didn't get too much across the map either. So as he comes back home, dealing with the links is going to be a bit of a pain. He needs to finish that command center, though.
Yeah, of course. This is a super common move on New Gettysburg, but it does still get a couple of Terrans every now and then. Plus, there might be a whole dynamic of you're kind of too concerned about what to do in the new patch. You kind of forget some of the more basic things sometimes. Some of this might have been the case, I don't know. But unfortunately, they did stall the command center. Kind of did what Elazer wanted to. But of course, MarineLorD going for 3rd CC, very common build on New Gettysburg, is not gonna take much grief from 5 seconds lost in the natural.
Well, questions were asked about, like, was it going to be mech or not in this game? And we'll find out in a moment here as the 3rd CC comes down very early. But there's some questions in chat. Some people are getting caught up on things. So first up, yes, we've seen mech 2 games now out of MarineLorD. So 1 game won, 1 game lost. We'll see if game number 3 works for him. Secondly, Zombie Grub is in Korea. That's why we're discussing these topics, guys. We were both in Korea recently, this past week. I came home after 1 week. She's staying for like a total of 5 weeks or something like that. She'll be home around Christmas, so hopefully this setup we got going on is actually... I don't know how it sounds to the stream. It sounds fine to me, so I presume that it sounds fine to the stream. But hopefully you guys are enjoying it, because that's kind of what this is going to have to be like for the next month or so.
Yeah, I am going to miss... Or... I don't appreciate right now having to be so aware of the noise I generate. Like, that's so far been the worst thing about living in Korea, just being like, on the subway, for instance, even, you're supposed to be quiet. Which is not a problem if I'm solo, but if I'm like a friend, like, I'd actually be quiet with like the loud foreigners that no one likes.
We were kind of quiet on the train.
I think that everyone was staring at us. Okay, if you have to ask if you're being loud, then you're probably being...
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
It happened to at dinner. Like, so it was funny. It was, we just talk about all these, like, Korea's open late. A lot of people were, up late, eating late, stuff like that. We went to get food, and after like an hour, everyone else left, and it wasn't that late. And we were just like, did they leave because the white people are being really loud? I don't know.
I mean, if you gotta ask.
Exactly, you gotta ask, and probably. Anyway, so this game, I mean, with a 3cc build and something that, Elazer wasn't planning on all-inning to punish, not gonna be much to talk about. It is gonna be mech, though, which is what, we were questioning.
Yeah.
Watch this poor guy. He'll get it eventually.
I know.
Actually, they just stop if they don't get it eventually, so maybe not.
So I'm watching this, and it's actually a bigger deal than it looks. Like, it's silly to poke fun and whatever, but you want to deny as much scouting as possible. And then, this Overlord's going to come in and see that there's still no third down. Might even drop some creep. I mean, the Viking actually not doing anything is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that is annoying. Well, roaches are on the way. This time Elazer is going for... I mean, he still played kind of a greedy game in the sense that he did wait for a while to even start a Roach Warren. I mean, his upgrades are almost always already done by the time his Roach Warren is done. But it's still not as scary as only depending on Lings against a mech player who, of course, is going to have Hellions. I would say the early game of Frost was a scary point in time. It was just, MarineLorD wasn't doing anything too aggressive. And with double armory, fast 3cc, Elazer's totally in the right to be kind of greedy, like get the upgrade super fast, hold off on getting army units. Now might bite him in the butt. He might take a bit of damage on his hatchery, but without stim, it shouldn't be a kill. I know.
No. In fact, just gonna back away. There's too many queens at this point too. Even though the Hellions would fry the Lings alive, the queens would push back everything eventually.
Yeah.
Bear's just gonna scout down here to the south. Lings run into the flames of those Hellions. Not very nice. Now Elazer actually doesn't have that much buffer for the queens. But with the roaches being out, I think he should still be okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is decent damage from MarineLorD, especially if he gets out of here with everything intact. Jesus. Because clearing up Lings is, it's something. And if you get away with all of your units, then something for nothing. But the production tab is starting to look a little bit scary. Like, Elazer has gotten to 71 drones. He's really advancing his tech quite quickly for an infestation pit already. And he does have all these upgrades on the way. So he could be at that time to bust MarineLorD as MarineLorD tries to take a fourth base, which is probably where this game is going to get complicated. Because right now it is just macro.
So, by the way, again with the topic of Korea, just so we got a bit of downtime here. I don't know what the actual statistics are for cost of living, but I just want to say, like, our time spent in Korea was surprisingly cheap. Like, I spent like 400 under my budget. Like, I didn't expect food to be so cheap. I didn't expect transit to be so cheap. I mean, taking the subway is literally like $1, guys. $1.
Yeah, it is.
Anywhere in the city, basically. And their transit system's actually really good, too. This is coming from the experience of somebody in BC and British Columbia. Transit's kind of poop, but Korea was surprisingly accommodating in many different factors, but I did not expect price to be one of them.
Better than Toronto. Yeah, it's $1. I think it's like $1.50 if you take the express train. It really is cheap.
Like a bottle of water. I checked this at the airport as soon as I got in, right? Bottle of water back home in Canada is like $3.50 in the vending machine. Bottle of water anywhere in Korea, when it wasn't free, was like maybe 400 won, which is like, or 800 won at most. Like, there's like 80 cents.
Like, 60, 80 cents, somewhere along there. So it is super cheap. It only gets expensive when you're trying to live, I guess.
Like, get a home for kids and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was gonna say a more adult life, but then I realized that could, like, mean different things.
Well, you and Maynard are dating now, right? So.
Oh my god, no, that's supposed to be a secret. Anyway, but
that adult life, or the fact that you were
it's cool. Hellions do get taken out by the roaches. It's a little unfortunate, and we do have Elazer going for that same type of play style as he did on Frozen Temple.
Yeah, so Tunneling Claws kicks in, and we saw some really cool stuff out of him. I really liked, again, the spread on the roaches, the sort of dual front attack. But at the end of the day, there's so many Vikings in the sky. Vipers should never get close to these tanks. And those tanks, okay, maybe the roaches get under them, but they dealt with them very handily last time as well. In fact, MarineLorD has very little buffer for the tanks, which is a little alarming. Like, not that many Hellbats, nothing here to really help them out. But the tanks themselves, ideally, shouldn't need that much help. They're so good.
They are really good. But MarineLorD still has some time before he can feel comfortable pushing out. And Elazer, I think he could have tried to max... I mean, he is maxed out. But he could have tried to max out with the best army he possibly could and attack into this and try and get him out of position. That could have been a way to play.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know which observer this is. I think it's the French one?
Well, he was, like, saying if everyone's ready to go, so I figured he was, like, the admin. Yeah, like, they're talking about their admin as a bad computer. Well, I'm just about to stump me.
Time for a poop emote.
Exactly.
I love it. And I guess for this is a little unfortunate, but it'll happen from time to time. The best of us have lagged out at the worst of times.
People ask if I like the Korean internet. So Korea is like much better connected than almost anywhere else in the world, but there are still places that don't have great internet connection. So it's kind of false to assume that every place has a good connection.
And it's like there's Wi-Fi everywhere, but there's Wi-Fi everywhere for people who have SK Telecom phone plans.
Yeah.
Like you don't. You can see the 500 connections, but you can't connect to any of them. Was something I learned.
Yeah, that's what kind of sucks. There's actually like you can buy internet like $1 or less than $1 for an hour or $3 a day. But I tried because my data plan ran out, and it wouldn't give me a button to press purchase. Basically, it was like, okay, you got your number and you got your like choices.
That was
no button.
That was like when we were trying to figure out the free Wi-Fi on a train, and I was getting like
my God,
no
that was
connect
so frustrating.
option.
Yeah, okay, because like, oh my God, you know what? Whatever. I'm not
This
gonna
looks
talk about
so
this again.
beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love the spread of the tanks. Okay, it's one thing. I love the turrets coming down on top of this sensor tower as well. MarineLorD really taking control of his side of the map, and Elazer, he did go corruptors before. I'm curious if he'll go for them again, because it would take care of the island base.
Yeah, he should absolutely get a couple of corruptors to make sure those island bases aren't taken.
Oh
It sounds so
my
funny
God.
to say that, but
Friendly fire was brutal
true.
just now.
yeah. Elazer, I don't think he can push into this, even with the Vipers. It's like too good of a spread of the turrets. Oh, okay, he's gonna try.
So it lays down some parasitic bombs, but the thing about parasitic bombs that's so nice is it doesn't really one-shot any unit in the game. You do have to take a little bit of damage, whether it's one shot from a queen or one shot from a hydra, so you can kind of still dedicate to an attack, but these Vikings are all very, very, very low and do need to be repaired up. Back in the earlier versions of this game where parasitic bombs stacked, it was broken and ridiculous, and frankly, just I couldn't believe Blizzard let that happen. But nowadays, parasitic bomb is a lot more manageable.
Yeah, it also, as you said, like one-shot a lot of things, so it was awkward. I do like I mean, we actually talked about this. There was a question of, like, can people actually implement it? MarineLorD has effectively turtled this entire game. This is more than just, like, 3 base safe turtle into 4 base push.
Yeah.
This is 5 bases with the island base. So he does have the economy and also the time with such a good defensive position to fill the rest of the supply with ghosts, which might be super useful.
Well, so this is where I really like the aspect of ghosts, right? You don't need a lot of upgrades on them. Ghosts are never made because you've got +3 weapons ready to go. Ghosts get made because you've got the snipe ability, because you've got EMP on them. So kind of units that don't require a lot of investment beyond that cloak. I actually really like the idea of having ghosts in this.
I like the idea, but we'll see if the execution works out exactly how we're thinking. Maybe
Yeah,
just
because you gotta consider,
killed
like,
instantly.
snipes are gonna be kind of limited for what you can do versus hydras. There's not gonna be nearly as many like ghosts as there are hydras, for example. EMP is gonna be hard to hit the Vipers with. Vipers aren't even that badly hurt by EMP either. They just go around and consume a building.
He's gonna try and attack into this position. This is the least guarded position.
Oh, snipes taking
So
out all the
not a bad idea.
all the Vipers. So who cares when the Vikings getting parasitic bomb? Those could probably all just die off at this point. Free up some supply for the tanks. The tanks, which by the way are doing a great job holding, despite the fact there's only like 2 or 3 of them firing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, Elazer gets this to lift off, but he still has, another 2 bases with very healthy mining still going on. He's going to lose his army for this, so was it worth it? Now, Elazer, we talk about MarineLorD for a long time. Elazer has just expanded like hell. He's certainly doing what you want to do, which is, like, get a ton of drones, get a ton of money, and then just keep on pushing in. But he is lacking gas, so this Remax is good, but that might be the concern going forward, especially as he is unable to get further bases. Maybe. He still has 2 bases that are pretty free. But this is going to be like a split map scenario, then that is going to be the question. Like, who has the better gas investment, who has better gas trades?
Well, Henley's managed to run around the map, but do get caught, so they're not going to be quite as sneaky or as good as I think he was hoping. We got a new sub, by the way, Twitch Prime Hype. I am Rookie _. Thank you very much for your support. I know we've missed out on a lot of shoutouts again, guys. We're just getting back on the casting horse, so hopefully you can forgive us. We'll do a shoutout summary after this game, I guess.
There's one thing I've noticed about the location I'm in is just like all the chairs suck. I don't know what it is.
Because you don't have those DX racers anymore from Chairs for Gaming. ChairsForGaming.com or ChairsForGaming.ca, depending if you're Canada or in the United States. Those DX racers. Use promo code BaseTradeTV for $20 off for purchase.
This was a setup.
Was that setup? No, actually, I agree. Like all
obvious.
the chairs in Korea were very uncomfortable for me too. So I'm not.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable, but they're also all like broken. Like the rollers are broken. My chair in my room doesn't lift or lower, even though it's shined.
Okay, well, a lot of Vipers were remade. They all got sniped in that previous engagement, so 7 are out. It's only 6 ghosts, so they won't get them all this time. The Vikings are gone. They're non-existent. Blinding Clouds come down. Snipes take out most of the Vipers once again, and those tanks have got nothing to stop them. Blinding Cloud, very limited.
Yeah, and this base isn't that important anymore. So it's like, hurrah! You could break the third base, and you even killed it, which is kind of cool. But okay, he's actually gonna tap out still. I'm a little surprised by that, but I guess he just felt like so overwhelmed, like he was unable to get maxed out, and because of that, he was just like, oh, I guess I'm never gonna get maxed out, which he might have been right about. Even with 2 bases, perfectly fine, mining.
What's interesting though is with the way this played out, we're gonna actually see every version of Terra and Mac possible today. TvZ, TvP, and now next will be TvT in the losers bracket.
Oh, cool, yay.
Again, I don't know whether it's losers match first or winners match first. We'll find out in a moment as they try and get their admin back online and all of that. But thank you, by the way, all right, to Power Jacouge for the 9-month resub. Crusher of Cities for the 22 months. Says the balance won't be restored until ZVT takes 2 hours per match again. You and me, man. Same wavelength. Angel's Wings 1 hit us up with a 15-month resub. I prefer not to for 10. I got a lot of 69 for 23 long months, and if only Hydras had more range. Resub for 4 months and says, am I relevant now? I think not, dude. Hydras finally do have more range, so gonna have to go for a new name on Twitch, I guess. Feel sad, man. Anyways, we're gonna go to commercial break. There's gonna be about 5 minutes of downtime anyways, so again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. Again, the new balance change is crazy and different, and if you want to go read up on all the small details, check out the 3.8 patch notes for StarCraft. Other than that, we'll try and guide you through for the rest of the matches today. But I guess last but not least, ! Korea in chat. If he's tuning in, Pickled Pocute, we're still waiting on your email. This is the guy who won the giveaway that we were hosting when we went to Korea. So we put it out on Facebook, on Twitter, now live on stream. Hopefully one of these will reach him. So if you guys are a friend of the dude, tell him to email us or respond to the email I sent to him so that we can get him his prizing. But we'll be back in a few, guys. Thank you, Raikion, for the 18 months. Damn, 18 months, right? See you soon.